What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Black Professionals Project. My name is Kenton Hipsher, and I am the CEO and founder of the nonprofit. And our mission is to educate and inspire Black and Brown youths by exposing them to careers via Black and Brown professionals, like the lovely one that I have with me here today. So I won't add any extra sauce to it. I'll just let you guys dive in with her. I would like to introduce Miss Amber Kearney.
Thank you. Thanks, Kenton. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for having me. I'm so excited to share my journey, tell you a little bit more about my background, how I came to learn about technology, which is the field I work in now, and then hopefully even where I'm going. I think, as you get into your career, sometimes you tend to lose your drive for where you're going. But even me in my late 20s, I'm still thinking about where I'm going and growing. So thank you for having me.
Dope. Well, you mentioned a career already, so let's get it kicked off here. Can you describe to the people what your career actually is?
Yes. So I am a digital product manager. And basically what that means is I work with engineers who actually build and code products, as well as designers, content strategists who are writing the actual words and things that goes on in the page. Everyone who has a part or piece of creating a product, I work with them to drive the vision and the mission of the product, make sure that I'm always speaking the business value of the product, as well as working with my leadership teams and some of the most senior people in the company to figure out what are we actually building, what's our budget, and make sure that it's aligned with our business goals. So it's a lot that goes into that role, but it's so much fun. I absolutely love it. I would not be doing anything else. I'm definitely found the role and I want to do for a really long time.
Dope. And where do you work at?
I work at Capital One, which most people are familiar with that as a bank or a credit card company. So what's in your wallet is one of our famous quotes. And so, I started working at Capital One last year, 2019.
Cool. Yeah. Capital One is a very interesting bank in that I've never seen a Capital One brick and mortar. I've never in my history. I don't know if they even exist. I'm sure they probably do, but at least not in the Midwest or on the West Coast have I seen any of them, or in the South. So maybe they are up in the East, but I haven't seen any. Do they have any brick and mortars actually?
They do. Yeah, there are brick and mortars. And actually, it's funny because you're probably more familiar with our Capital One cafes potentially, which is a new kind of model for doing banking. So it's really like you're going into a coffee shop, which is pretty cool.
Dope. Yeah, that is interesting. I haven't seen any of those yet, but I'm sure as I venture out, maybe at some airports or something, I'll see a couple of them pop up. But cool. That's a great place to work. So I guess technically your industry would be like fintech, like financial technology, right?
I would probably stick with technology. Fintech is getting more to like the startup world, like kind of innovating, disrupting financial services.
Okay.
We tend to I know Capital One tends to stick pretty closely to financial services and not like, we have a very good establishment in terms of our regulatory and compliance that matters. Whereas like, in terms of startups and kind of fintech companies, they are getting new to that. So I definitely think what I particularly think I do is more technology. I just happen to work in financial services and I can switch industries and go wherever, which is pretty nice.
Dope. That's super cool. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about you to figure out more about your background and how you got started in the role that you have today. So can you please describe your ethnicity and then where your hometown is?
Yes, I am African American. I am born and raised in a little town called Kernersville in North Carolina. So if you're familiar with HBCU talk, you'll probably heard Winston-Salem State University, which is on one side of Kernersville, and the other side of Kernersville is A&T, which is in Greensboro, North Carolina A&T. So we're kind of smack dab in the middle of like a really college area. So there are a lot of colleges in the area. But it was a great place to grow up and just kind of get my learnings of kind of education, really diving deep into academics, and learning how to have just a model of growing and learning and always being hungry to learn more. So that I will say, like, growing up in a small town wasn't as fun, as maybe a big city, but it gave me that really sound foundation of like focus. There's really nothing else to do but to, focus and kind of get really deep into what you're learning. And then when it came time to go to colleges, I was looking at, obviously the colleges that are in North Carolina. There's a ton of great ones. But my mentor, who I went to church with, was telling me about Hampton, and she had gone there. And she's like, you would actually really like it. I think you should go visit for High School Day, which is a day that they host students, and they, beautify the campus, and they invite high school students to join, just see what campus life is like. And I fell in love. So that was kind of like my upbringing up into college. And then Hampton was amazing.
That's so awesome. I mean, I'm a big supporter of HBCUs. I personally wasn't able to attend one, but I know that they're great institutions, and all of my friends that I have from HBCUs are all legit. So I'm happy to have another alum representative on our platform. So, talking about growing up in North Carolina and growing up as a Black person, a Black woman, I should say, there's always a set of challenges and struggles that come with those things, right? But focusing on your education, sort of what's your experience been like from high school through college into where you are now? Were you like early on focused on the role that you have now? Were you thinking like, I'm going to go into product, this is what I'm going to do? Or did you know it existed, or what?
Not at all. I mean, honestly, if I think back to my high school years, I wanted to figure out what subject in school that I liked. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about a career at that point. I was like, what do I even like to do? And for me as a high school student, I like to dance. I was a dance team. I was, I did a dance outside in the company. So I really enjoyed the art side of me, the creative side of me that allowed me to express myself in that way. In terms of like academics, I liked English. I didn't really like, I didn't really like science. I didn't really like any of the other. I really loved English. And I remember my English teacher in high school, I just reached out to her recently, actually, but she really taught me the importance of going deep into literature and poetry specifically. So explicating poetry, really Emily Dickinson is one we spent a lot of time reading her poetry. And so that was really, for me, the core of who I really was in high school. It was arts and creativity. So if you think about poetry and dance, all those things kind of lean toward that creative side of your brain. And then my mentors, I actually started volunteering when I was in high school for a program for NHS, the National Honor Society. I think most students are probably familiar with that. I wanted to get into NHS, so I needed volunteer hours. So I was like, okay, how do I get these hours? I just need to make sure I get them, check them off the box. And I actually ended up volunteering for a basketball camp from one of my dad's relationships that he had. And basketball camp was I didn't play basketball. I never had any plan on playing basketball, but the camp was called Achievements Unlimited, and it gave students an opportunity to hear speakers come in throughout the week and also hear about the different routes they took to get to basketball. So if they weren't in the NBA, how, how education was so important. So I think a mix of hearing those messages from the athletes, and then being in the mix of sports, I was like, okay, sports might be a way that I could be successful. So my plan going into Hampton was to get a business degree and then later get a law degree and be an entertainment attorney. It was all based on just kind of me seeing somebody else's success and saying, well, I could probably make that happen for myself, but I really hadn't made it my own, which that changed in college, as you probably would guess.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. I mean, for me growing up, I didn't really have a lot of representation or awareness about careers that were out there. And so that's been a big thing for me kind of all throughout my education process, is trying to seek out faces that look like mine or stories that sound like mine, and they're doing awesome, amazing things. And so it's really cool to hear, someone else had the same situation. And really, I think naturally as people, we're prone to mimicking things that we see. Anything we see, we're just naturally going to try to imitate it. And I feel like a lot of people put pressure on youth and really just people in general to follow your passion, do what you love, all of this stuff, which is great. And I encourage you to pursue your dreams, please. But at the same time, you have to figure out what is it that you're good at, and you won't know that until you start trying things. And so that's where I think what you were talking about of mimicking somebody first is really very, very, very key. I mean, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. Like if somebody's already done something and they're successful, just keep trying what they've done and try to figure out how you can put your own spin on it and how you can ultimately find what you love. And I think that's the more healthier process than trying to go through this deep soul searching moments that everybody has on TV, but no one has really in life, and trying to figure out what is it that I like to do. Just try stuff. You know, if you don't try, you'll never know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now that we talked about your education here and, you know, going to HBCU, enjoying your time there, being on the dance team, you know, living it up. Talk to me about what a day in the life is for you as a professional.
Yes, as a professional, it's all over the place. I will say every day is different. But I think the core of my job is connecting with people. So in the morning, typically I have a meeting at 9:00 in the morning. It's actually with my leadership. So he has a meeting where he'll host all of his the people who directly report to him and their direct reports, where we just kind of go through updates and we talk about, hey, here's what's happening with my team. We kind of go around and do that. And then at the end, he kind of gives his spiel about what's top of mind for him, what are things he's working on. So it's a really good way to just get grounded in the morning. And then the rest of the day is meetings. So I meet with my team, I have 2 teams, so I meet with them back to back. And we pretty much talk about like, what are we working on today? What do we plan to work on tomorrow, or like kind of think about updates. And then can I help them solve any problems they have? So before we go into the day, it's always setting the tone for what are we doing, kind of that to-do list, if you think about it that way. And then the rest of my day after those 2 meetings is pretty much me connecting with people who have a vested interest in my product. So whether that's a customer or another stakeholder from another team who might need my team to work on something for them, my manager, we also connect very, very frequently just to, you know, check in, make sure that I'm aligned with what he needs me to do. And the fun part of my job is that I get to think about like what's next. So that's more of a discovery. So, you know, I use sometimes examples with students, like if someone was building Instagram, which is one of their favorite apps, someone behind the scenes has to think about what's the next thing we're going to be doing with Instagram. And so that's really what my role is about too, not with Instagram, obviously, but like with my product, I have to think, okay, it's in the market, we have great customers, we have great feedback. Now what's next? So that's where the discovery comes in. And I try to make time for that as well. So that's kind of a typical day, but every day is different, but overall it's, you know, definitely connecting with people, working with people to build something and actually see the results of that, which is fun and rewarding.
Wow. Yeah. I'm a huge people person. So having a job centered around working with people, connecting people is a big, big, big factor for me. And so hearing you talk about what you do is very exciting for me, because I'm like, I love that. I love every bit of that. This is so great. Asterisk minus the meetings, because sometimes there are meetings that are not necessary. People send the email. You don't need to have a meeting.
Yep, I totally agree. We use a platform called Slack, which is like instant messenger. So that means I tend to stay on Slack all day, and then I just check email randomly sometimes. So
I hear you. So thinking more about that, I try to give myself one selfish question every interview, because
fine, you deserve it.
I love staying on script to keep time, but then also I'm like, I really need to ask this question. So one of the things that I feel like people in our careers because I work in sales, so I also have a lot of meetings and a lot of people connecting in the nature of my job. But people who work in similar jobs like ours, specifically for you, how do you manage your time to get the things done that you need to get done, right? Because everybody's pulling you in different directions all day long. It's meetings. When do you find the time to actually get your work done? Are you waking up early? Are you going to bed late? Like, what's your schedule like?
Yeah, I haven't mastered this yet, especially given the times. I definitely think like being that we're working from home as a result of a pandemic, like it's definitely shifted for me, but I live and breathe on my calendar. So I always try to bake in time and like set different blocks on my calendar for lunch or, working session or work on this. Like I literally name a calendar invite, work on this deck for Steve, or or deck is a presentation. Sorry, I'm using consulting terms. But yeah, I tend to make time and schedule time for what I need to get done and being non-negotiable about that. So if someone wants to schedule a meeting on top of that, I say, hey, I'm not busy. Can we push this out? We also have, my team is no meeting Fridays. So Fridays is a great day for me to get work done as well. And I definitely recommend, if you don't have some sort of work-life balance with your teams, you try to incorporate that, because whether it's, no meeting Friday or, no meetings after 3:30, whatever that is, everyone needs time to actually work, not just talk about work. So I think that's important to implement. And I love that my team has given us a chance to do that too.
That's a great idea. I'm gonna have to talk to my team about that, because oftentimes, I also work for a global company. So, being that we're everywhere, our meetings are getting scheduled at all over the place, right? Because there's people in different time zones, and you got to make sure you're still working on business hours for their region. But I think having that little block of time specifically carved out is something that's really nice, because it allows you to get the work done you actually need to get done.
Exactly. Yeah, it's important.
Great. Well, thank you.
Weekend, especially.
Yes. I try to keep my weekends free. So I understand. But sometimes it bleeds over, just a workaholic, I guess, in myself.
Yeah.
But moving forward into your career more, what are some obstacles that you've had to face in your career up to this point? I think everybody has their own hurdles, their own sets of limitations, and what's the things that you've experienced?
I think one that's a pretty popular term coming up now in the industry or whatever is imposter syndrome. So people may not know what that is. Basically, it's the feeling that when you go into a room or when you're in whatever forum, they're doing something that you feel like you're not supposed to be there. You feel like you're not good enough, or that you don't have the right resources, or you don't have the right knowledge. I've definitely felt that. I've even coming into technology from business school, I thought, okay, I'll be a business person. There'll be some tech folks, and we'll figure it out together. But I quickly found that I had to be a technologist. I had to learn the technology language. I had to actually understand what the developers were talking about and be able to translate that. So, with that comes a level of imposter syndrome too. It's do I actually know what this is? Or can I actually talk about this, fluently? But over time you get better, right? And I think, another thing to combat that is I always look to women, women who are famous, or women who are really, even if they're not famous, I just know them in my personal circle. I look to how they execute and run their meetings, or how they show up in rooms. And I say, okay, if Michelle Obama can do that, I can do that, or if, Morgan DeBon, who runs Blavity and Afrotech, can do that, I can do that. And some of these women are the same age as me. So I just think about what is their mindset going into a room full of executives, or what is their mindset when they're on stage talking to thousands of people. They might be nervous, but they do it, and they do it well. So I figure, why can't I do that? That really helps me, just having that inspiration.
Got it. Yeah, I know for me, imposter syndrome is something that I also deal with. And I think a lot of people deal with. They may just not be classifying it as imposter syndrome. But anytime you're working in a new space, I think it's naturally going to come up. For me, I was in a more technical role, and now I'm in a business role. So I kind of have the opposite experience, and I had to get caught up very quickly. And thankfully, it's natural for me to work with people, so I can kind of adapt very smoothly to that process, but still having to give big presentations, big meetings and things, I can get a little rattled, and it's just natural, I think. And as long as you can accept it and know that it's coming, and, just try to be as prepared as possible, I think that's the best way to try to fight that off. And sometimes you just got to fake it till you make it.
Right. And I will say, my mantra this year has been do it scared. So, even given COVID and we're remote, I have had so many speaking opportunities like this one. Some of them are really large scale. Some of them were smaller scale. But I just said, you know what, even if you're scared, just do it. Do it, and you'll feel much better afterward. And I can definitely attest to that. If you just do it and put yourself in that uncomfortable situation, the other side you'll feel so much better, and you'll be proud of yourself, which gives you more confidence for the next, whatever you're taking on.
Exactly. I think that's a much better way of saying it than, fake it till you make it. I think do it scared is more positive. So I'm going to change my lingo to match that and moving forward. The other thing I was going to mention about imposter syndrome, since we're talking about it, is imposter syndrome not only as someone new to a profession or someone stepping into a professional role, but also as somebody who's Black or brown in a predominantly white-dominated society. And I try not to bring race too much into these conversations, but it's a part and a factor in everything that we do, whether we like it or not. So I at least try to acknowledge it. And for some people, I just want to communicate this to the younger folks, especially who are going into the business world or into the professional world. Just be prepared to know that this is going to affect you in some way, shape, form, or other. And that you just have to be really confident in yourself and know that you're good at what you're doing, and that's why you're at the point where you are today. And just try to keep that mindset and keep pushing forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. So outside of the hurdles and some of the, fears that we have, what are the things that make you excited about your role? What gets you out of bed and makes you want to say, like, I'm going to go get this product right today. Like, we're going to be out here killing it. It's going to be the best product on the market.
Yeah. I mean, I think just overall working in technology gives me a sense of achievement, right? Because like when you're building something, you start from scratch, like you start from an idea or a problem that you're trying to solve. You put some design together, some sort of, prototype together, and then you build it and then you launch it. Just that process in itself, like, makes me so excited, because you can think about, man, like, we had an idea back, in February, and now it's August, and like, it's here. It's actually like, we can use it. We can click on it. So I just love that feeling. And I love every feeling in between, even the not so happy times when it's like, okay, guys, we have a deadline. We have to get this done. Those are the more stressful times. But I think just overall, like, knowing that, first, the kind of self-rewarding thoughts of like, this is achieving something that we said we were going to do. And then also just like impacting people. So technology is something that you can provide to others and users to actually change their life, to do something that's impacting them. And like, for me at Capital One, I'm actually doing that because all of our customers are using our platform, they're using our products as a result of, so like trying to either, help their financial situation or buy something that helps them. So how can we as a product team, as a technology team, always keep our customers at the top of our mind? That's really important to me, because we hear sometimes customer stories and they say, like, I use the website or I use this feature on Capital One and like, it was so great. Like that feedback really makes me feel great about the products that we're building too.
Well, if you need a beta tester or if you need anything of that sort, you let me know, because I use the app. I got the card. I'm all on it.
Thank you. Awesome. Loyal customer.
I will be in the focus group. I will be all up in there dropping my comments and my feedback. Let me tell you, I got a bone to pick already with Capital One. So I'm going to get this off one way or another.
Gosh. Yeah. We love the customer feedback always.
Well, you can get it here. Let me tell you, I'm coming through with the full truth. So after that, thinking about everything that we talked about so far, I guess, what would you tell the younger Amber or the young youth that's out there thinking of following in the footsteps that you've shown today and maybe pursuing a career like yours?
I think two things come to mind for me. One is like, never stop learning, and never stop like humbling yourself to know that you don't know everything. You don't have it all figured out. That's something that I have always done. Even as a manager going into a senior manager role, I'm still like learning. I'm still looking for how can I learn more about this new technology, or how can I like sit in a class or take a certification or hear someone who's an expert talk about it. I think, when you're younger, it's easy because you're in school and you have a teacher and it's easy because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to learn and absorb. But even as you graduate from high school and college, and then you get into the real world, it's kind of up to you to have that continuous learning. So I would just encourage everyone to always be seeking knowledge. Knowledge is power. So always seek to grow and learn more. And that is what will help you grow even faster in your career, because once you know something and you can speak to it fluently and you have actual perspective about it and you can go deep in the subject matter, it opens up doors for you. So just continue that continuous learning. And the second thing probably would be to not limit yourself. So for me, like growing up in a small town, I could have like easily limited myself. I could have been like, I'm just going to stay in this city. I'm going to go back after I graduate and like, work this, 9 to 5 kind of easy job. That's like go home to mom's house every, very cookie cutter life. But then I was like, you know what? Like I could actually live out of state, or I could live out of the country even. Like I could, tour the world if I wanted to. Like there's so many, like the world is your oyster, literally. Like you can create the life that you want. So don't limit yourself in any way. Like if it's a global role that you want, you can get it. If there's a person that you aspire to be like, you can be that. We saw, President Obama, the first Black president, of the United States, and, Kamala Harris, now the vice president ticket. Like, we see that Black people can open doors. So just never limit yourself to what you think you can achieve. And like, as long as you have your knowledge, you have your willpower, your discipline, you can get there.
Don't limit yourself, people. You heard it right here. You heard it from the expert herself. Go out there, venture out, explore, try new things. Live out of state, yes. You don't have to be at home all the time. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's things out there that you probably don't even know are for you until you get out there and see. So
absolutely,
it's worth trying. The last question here before we close out that I want to ask personally is, if I'm a person going into, or a young person that wants to go into product, mm-hmm. what kind of path would you recommend they take in terms of education? Do they need to go to a business school, get an MBA? Do they need to go to engineering school, become a software engineer? What kind of track do they need to take?
That is a great question. I took the path of business, so I'm not going to, discredit business. I think that's a great field for anyone who wants to just learn how to grow a company and know how ins and outs of companies work. Which ultimately that's, what a lot of people aspire to be, is company owners and entrepreneurs. But I personally would probably lean heavier toward technology now. And maybe not as your sole like focus, but like if you want to do a major in computer science or some sort of engineering related field, and then have a minor in something else that's more creative, like, design, or, even English, or something that's going to give you that outlet outside of that technical role. I think product management is a blend of all those skills. So you have to be able to speak the language of technology, understand how to, like, the foundations and how to build things. But you also have to understand the design thinking process and how, even from a designer standpoint, if you're working on front end products, it's important to know why certain colors matter, why certain typography matters, like all these things that are important to the building process. So there's really no one field you can go into. But at the end of the day, it's technology we're building, right? Like we're building digital products. So that you have to be able to speak fluently about how that goes to market, like how your customers interact with that. So I think that would probably be my suggestion.
That's fantastic. And just to clarify, do you have your MBA or do you have your bachelor's in business?
I have both. So I actually did a 5-year MBA program at Hampton, where you get your bachelor's of science in business, and then I focused in marketing and advertising. And then my MBA was just more general, kind of across the board. But the program in itself kind of focuses heavier on accounting, so that like financial literacy kind of a focus there.
Look at that. Look at them coming through with all the education. Yes. I didn't even know what that was out there. If I knew there was something like that out there, I would have gone for it. But see, there it is again. There was a lack of awareness. Now we have representation, and hopefully moving forward, you all will be able to pursue this career, or at least go down this track and find a career that fits you.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Actually, I will get on their website and I will link the link to their program actually in the description. So if you guys want to check it out, you can click the link in the description and it'll take you directly there and you can learn more about it. But with that, I think we should get closing out here. So do you have any last thoughts or shout outs that you want to give? Shout out to the moms, pops, anybody.
Yeah, I will I'll shout out my parents. They have been amazing, just supporters for me. Like I was speaking to someone else earlier this week and telling them, like, my parents let me explore whatever. Like, I mean, if I wanted to do dance, they let me do it. If I wanted to do, this camp or that thing, like they let me do whatever just to create who I am. So I really want to shout out to them. Shout out to you for creating this platform. Shout out to all the viewers, because I hope that you are, you get some inspiration from this, and not just my talk, but all the rest of the speakers. And they can share with you their insights so that you can know what you want to do as well. So Yeah, that's my shout outs. And then I'm always open to talking to people, connecting with people. So if you want more information on how to connect with me, my website is amberkearney.com. On there, you can send me an email, you can schedule a 15-minute chat, and I'm just open to giving whatever advice and mentoring whoever I can.
Awesome. And the link will be in the description for that as well. So if you guys want to hit her up, ask her some questions, get some life advice, maybe learn a little bit about how to get some fly hair. 15 minutes is all it takes, 15 minutes. But all right, thank you very much, Amber, for coming on the platform. I really appreciate it. I know our audience really appreciates it. And it's great just to uplift another strong Black woman again. I mean, I'm always happy to do that. So I appreciate you showing up and showing out for the people. And at this moment, I will remind y'all, as I always do, to like, comment, subscribe to the channel so you never miss another episode of the #Black Professionals Project. We come on every Monday. Y'all know it's gonna be there. Consistency is key, right? So every Monday you're gonna get an episode. In between, you're gonna get promotionals. You might get little snippets of what we've had or what's coming up. So stay plugged in. Check out the links in the description. I've dropped everything down there from career placement tests, personality tests, internships, externships, research links, all provided for you. And these are paid. They will pay you to learn something new. So why would you not want to do that? So if you're interested, make sure you check out the links in the description. We will see you guys next Monday with another great episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. We are out.
Bye.